I think we're live. There we go. I don't know if that was delayed or not, but hi, everybody. So, what is up? Welcome back to yet another Spyro Yap Sesh. I am your host of said Yap Sesh, Canadian Guy A, and we are going to be talking obviously, a lot about Spyro today, and there's some interesting little tidbits and pieces of information that I found, and we're clearly entering a time of that I've spoken about in the past where I'm saying, hey, I think we're going to be getting there very, very, very soon. I've been talking about it quite a bit. I've been getting over and over it for a long time that I believe we would be seeing something sometime this summer. I believe it's going to be this summer. So we're going to wait a few minutes to get everyone in here before we get started, just to, just see anybody who is here that wants to be here. Give me a second here. I'm going to send out the alert. We're only going to be live for a little bit, as usual. We don't typically... We usually run these Yap sessions for about an hour. Sometimes we go a little bit over. But that's okay. There we go. Just give me a moment here just to finish a few things up, and then we'll dive right in. And also get some people in here as well. There's also a great time for the Gonadian. That's a new way of saying it. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. There's I am excited. I am very excited. Things I think are things are going to be going very well. One second. I think we can X that. Go here. And then once I do this, we should get started in but a moment. Okay. So, we are entering the zenith, the twilight zone. We're entering what I believe is the end of the road. I think that we're going to be hitting finally the destination, and it's been way too long. It's been way too long. It's been 8 years, and I finally do believe that we are going to be hitting the destination. Ever since we had the report of it going officially into development, my whole perspective changed on the scope of the project, right? And because my whole perspective changed on the scope of the project, everything leading up to that point, of course, was speculative and trying to guess it and trying to find evidence. And I kind of have come, and I've learned over the years a lot of stuff about this. And as soon as Spyro 4 is released and is out and everything, don't worry, it's not going to be immediately. So let's start talking about Spyro 5. We will be talking a little bit about Spyro 5, of course, but it's not going to be like the coverage that we had over the past 8 years, because if I've learned my lesson is, even if the fans want it and the developers want it, if the publishers are not on board or they are not ready on board, it's not going to happen. So, yeah. But let's get started. So we're going to start with we're going to start with something that kind of, there's been some, okay, where do I start here? Has there been evidence released that I haven't spoken about? Yes-ish. Yes-ish. So there's been a few things that have happened and a few things that I've also dug up that I don't think was worth making a video about, at least not yet, because they're pretty small. But I did want to kind of go over a bunch of it today so that we can kind of get an idea. So, first of all, let's start with something that happened that, you know, some people have been asking about, and I'll cover it today, but I'm going to also give my my explanation of it. So, Nick Cole, one of the previous artists on Spyro, one of the, I would say, like not the art director, but one of the head. Oh my god! Elena, I just started. Elena just donated $50 through Super Chat. Right off the hop for merch when Spyro 4 is announced. Use it well. Elena, thank you so much. That is incredible. Thank you, Elena. Thank you so much for your love and support. Thank you, Elena. You are awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, I gotta try to get back in the role here. Okay, so Nicholas Cole, who had worked with Toys for Bob in the past, tweeted this tweet out. Right now, I want to pull up what Mel the Honeybee said here, because Mel said it perfectly. This is the equivalent of lighting a stick of dynamite and throwing it into a room and shutting the door behind you. Yeah, that's what this felt like to me. But we have to also understand a few things. Nick Cole is currently working at Studio MDHR, which is the studio behind Cuphead. So, do I think that he is directly involved with Spyro? It's possible that he's involved in a sense of maybe he was either contacted, or maybe he gave some advice, or maybe he gave some direction. But because he's already working at Studio MDHR, I don't think he's going to be returning. I don't think. Also, if he was directly involved, I don't think that he would just tweet Spyro. But what I think is happening is that, of course, we make friends, and developers make friends. And also to Josh Nadelberg, who was working at on Project Dragon beforehand, was working with Nick. They may be involved. I'm not saying that there's a leaky ship, but what I'm saying is that there most likely is just some casual conversation, and Nick is being cheeky. Not in a bad way. Why was I making an apology video? I wasn't. So, but this definitely is, I think it's something, but it's not anything that is really tangible to be able to pull much from at the moment. If there was no evidence of Spyro at all and this happened, this would mean something. But there's just such a giant mountain of evidence already that it's kind of hard to, it's like yes, but also no. So, you know, it depends on how you look at it, right? It depends how you look at it. But I did want to throw this in here because so many people have been reaching out to me about it, and I was like, okay, let me address it. Let me talk about it. Let me acknowledge it, because yes, I do acknowledge it. I have seen it. I don't know what the implications are as of yet, however. But let me go into something that I do think is interesting, because I did find some evidence of something very strange. And a lot of you out there who are big Spyro music fans are going to enjoy this. So while I was on my hunt, and while I was looking for stuff and looking for hints and looking for evidence, what I like to do is I like to try to look across social medias across the board, not just Twitter and Facebook. No. We go deeper, right? We want to go deeper. We want to go to Instagram, LinkedIn. We want to go to the official website. But then you got some side websites too that are social media profiles, but not quite just strictly social media. And one of the places that I went to that I found something was SoundCloud. Now, if you don't know, you as an artist can publish stuff on SoundCloud to be able to share some stuff, share some details, share some music, and you can, as a company, go on there and share. Now, if you don't know, Toys for Bob has a SoundCloud. Now, when I found out that they had a SoundCloud, I was like, oh, that's actually really cool. You know what? It might be a really good place for me to be able to go and actually listen to a bunch of the tracks, because I know there's some on Spotify. I know there's some all over the place. But to have everything all put together on a Toys for Bob tracks would be cool. We could get Crash Bandicoot 4 stuff. We could get Spyro. We could probably get some Crash Team Rumble stuff. So I went on there, and I want you guys to look at something. Okay? So we go here. Here it is, Toys for Bob SoundCloud. Right? That we have Dino Mines, Mushroom Speedway, Crystal Glacier. Just so you guys see here, we can see here, this is Spyro 1 theme. Let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can hear. Right? It's all here. But I want you guys to look at something. I'm going to scroll through here. I want you to pay attention. Look at all the tracks. Keep looking. All right? What are you noticing so far? And now we're at the bottom. This is Toys for Bob's SoundCloud, and this was established 2 years ago. This was established 2 years ago, so this is when they went indie. This wasn't something that they dropped 8 years ago when the Spyro came out. All these tracks were dropped on and created 2 years ago. What do you notice? Let me ask a better question. What isn't there? Where's Crash 4? Where's Crash Team Rumble? Let's push it a little bit further. Where's Skylanders? Where's anything? The only thing that is on here, posted 2 years ago when they went independent, is Spyro. Nothing else. No other game. They have 45 tracks. 45 tracks. Not one Crash Bandicoot track. Not one. Isn't that interesting? That they would only have Spyro tracks. That's it? Nothing else? We're not going to look at any other Crash games? Okay. That's okay. That's interesting. So I made note of that because I figured, okay, that's interesting that they would only have Spyro on there. But we're not done with music yet. We're not done. No. Nay. You think that's all I got? No. Because then we're going to go over to Stuart Copeland here. We're going to go over to Stuart Copeland. Now, pardon that, most of us are adults, but Copeland drops a swear here. But take a look at this video that he said, and I want you to read what he says. Hint, a recent hobby of mine. I want you to pay attention.
Okay, for today's adventure, I am just going to hit play on this machine here. In fact, record on that machine over there, and a mystery tune will be coming out of my earphones, which I will bang shit for your amusement and see if you can figure out what the hell it is.
Listen very carefully. So, there's a lot of little tidbits here. First of all, the biggest thing, he's playing a Spyro track. Now, I decided to go and take a look at his profile just to double check. Has he done this before? Exactly like this? On his profile that he's shown off? No. No, he has not. Okay? Going through, there is nothing. There is nothing of him doing this. Right? Where he is saying, here's a hobby of mine. Right? And yes, it's Night Flight. You guys are right. It's Night Flight. So this is just a one-off random thing that he posts. Okay. Then he says, hint, a recent hobby of mine. Now, this was done on May 2nd. Okay. This was done on May 2nd. He says, hint, a recent hobby of mine. What is he hinting at? When you say hint, it's supposed to lead to something. What does he mean by hint? Then, if you listen to what he says at the beginning, there's a key word for Spyro that we always say. Listen.
Okay, for today's adventure,
For today's adventure, of course, what do we know that Spyro says? The adventure continues, or the adventure begins, which is something that starts at the beginning of every single of the original games. So, what am I alluding to here? What am I alluding to? What I'm alluding to is that I think that there is going to be some involvement of Stuart Copeland with the next game. Do I think he's going to be the composer, like the key composer for the game? I don't think so, because Stefan Vankoff is still working very much at Toys for Bob. Could it be a collaboration? Sure. Could it be he advises like he did for the first game? Definitely. I think that Stuart might have some kind of involvement. I'm not sitting here and saying that, oh, he's the new composer. And we might not even know right away if he's going to be involved, because we didn't know that Stuart was going to be involved, I don't think, with Spyro Reignited until much later. Much later. I think we found out about him being involved at like the San Diego Comic-Con, which was like 3 months later. So I do think that Stuart Copeland may have some sort of involvement with the next Spyro game. Now, when he says, hint, a recent hobby of mine, and it's on May 2nd, okay? We're coming up to a bunch of game shows coming up. We have, of course, the Xbox Game Show, Summer Game Fest. We have the PlayStation Game Show that's been alluded to be coming out. I've heard at the end of May. I have heard that. I've heard before Summer Game Fest. That's kind of the vibe that I've been hearing rumors for. But of course, that's liquid. That can change. And I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, I have sources. It's just things I've been seeing online. I'm not the one who's reporting that. Somebody else had reported that. And I think it was verified by one other person, that right now is currently slated to be either very late May or just in general before the Summer Game Fest. Then you have the Xbox Game Show, which is 2 days after Summer Game Fest. And then, of course, we have Gamescom, which I wouldn't bet my money on Gamescom. But if I want to hedge my bet, I'll say that. So, now we have some sort of interesting correlation and interesting activity here, in my opinion. So, I am very interested in some of your thoughts. But before we continue, as much as I am also showing some evidence to back things up, I am also going to, I don't want to say shoot down, but I'm also going to say I'm going to settle some people down, because there was something that was talked about recently. And while it's not bad news, it's also not good news. It's not very interesting news. It's being angled as something that's interesting, and I'm here to tell you that it's not interesting, and it's the most boring news ever. So let me tell you what was reported, and then let me show you the boring minutia. And this is not calling anybody out, because I've been guilty of this in the past, but I've found some new tools and stuff to dig into to learn some new things. And I was like, okay, I like learning. Even if I'm wrong, I like learning to be able to figure out how I can eliminate things in the future. So if you go to the Spyro the Dragon website and you scroll down to the bottom, you can see that there is a copyright here for 2026. So the copyright was updated for Spyro the Dragon for 2026. Bunch of people said, hey, activity on the copyright and trademarks front. And yes, with an asterisk. And let me explain that asterisk. If we go to crashbandicoot.com, I haven't even looked at this before the stream, but I would bet a shiny quarter that it's going to say 2026 at the bottom. There it is. Bang. 2026. Okay. 2026. So people think, oh, that means that Crash Bandicoot stuff is also going to get updated. Okay, sure. Let me make a bet live on stream. I bet you if I were to go to an uncommon Activision studio, we're going to see a 2026 copyright. So let me go, you know what? Let's go Skylanders. Let's go Skylanders.com. Okay. It's Skylanders, right? Let's see. Is there a copyright here? Oh, would you look at that? There's also a 2026 copyright for Skylanders Imaginators. Okay, well, I have an idea. Let's try High Moon. Let's try High Moon Studios, which is pretty much a very, another studio of Activision, but it's much smaller. Let's take a look. 2026. Now, luckily there's no way that we can bet anything, because I cheated a little bit. And the reason why I cheated is because I found this tool. Don't worry, you don't need to read all of this, but let me explain. This is an SSL board report where you can basically look at certificates of websites. And I specifically had this report submitted specifically on May the 5th for SpyroTheDragon.com. And we can see here, right up here, you can see here, SpyroTheDragon.com. And what this all tells us is all the different certificates and all the different stuff and how strong the website is, the source of it, etc., 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 etc. There's all these things, okay? All these internet certificates. All you need to know is if you go down to the bottom here, you can see here We just need to look at number 9, which is adjacent domains. These were all the websites that were updated at the same time from the same root manifest for Spyro the Dragon. We have Call of Duty Mobile, Activision, Demonware, Guitar Hero, Solid State, Activision Blizzard Media, Benefits of Every World, Call of Duty League, Crash Bandicoot, High Moon Studios, Infinity Ward, Ravens, Sekiro, Sierra, Skylanders, Sledgehammer, Treyarch, and World Series of Warzone. Those were all. So if we were to go to any of these websites whatsoever, okay, we would find that they would have a 2026 copyright. We're going to scroll down to the bottom. Ta-da, 2026. So what does this mean? In just very quick layman's terms, this doesn't mean anything because every other Activision website that is on the same manifest as this website got updated as well. So this is not evidence of necessarily something happening. It is evidence of clerical work. It's evidence of legal laws. It's nothing exciting. It's nothing interesting because it's all a 2026 copyright that's pinned to the same manifest. They update that manifest and then it updates all of them. Now, if it was only Spyro and Crash that were updated and nothing else at the same time, okay, we have something. But because all the other manifests that were everything on the same manifest got updated all on the same day at the same time, it's just a cascading effect, then we can determine that this was most likely clerical work because we know that Skylanders is not most likely not going to be coming back, most likely, right? We know that High Moon isn't as active as it used to be. And we know that Activision has no control, to my knowledge, unless there's a contract that I am unaware of, and there's a contract and agreement that is not typical. Activision published Sekiro. They don't have control over it in the sense of if they wanted to turn around and make a new game, they don't necessarily have control, right? Because that was done by Bandai, right? They had no development. They really had no hands-on development for Sekiro, to my knowledge. So, in short, unfortunately, this means nothing. It doesn't mean much, if anything, right? Also, if you go to the Toys for Bob website and you go down, all right, even the Toys for Bob's website, it's not 2026, it's 2024. What we can, of course, pull and determine from that is that the Toys for Bob site is no longer on the same manifest as Activision because they are now an independent studio. They are their own thing. Ta-da, right? So that's some of the few things that I wanted to kind of point out. Like I said, I didn't want to sit down and I didn't want to make a whole dedicated video about some of this stuff. We're going to start getting to questions a little bit, but I kind of wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about expectations. Okay. What do I mean by expectations? I'll tell you mine, but I'm also going to be telling mine with the nugget of information that I feel like, how do I word this? I'm trying to find a way to word it and for not somebody to snip it out of context and get mad at me about it. So let me try to figure out. I feel that because I have been studying this for so long, that while this is strictly my opinion and you can choose to listen to it or not, I do believe that my opinion should hold at least a little bit more weight compared to your average Joe. Just because of how much I have been looking into this and things that I have seen, things I've been talking to people about, things that I have looked at, conversations, private and public, etc., etc. So let me just give you my take on some expectations. Don't expect Spyro 4 to be, oh, it's just like Crash, because Crash Bandicoot 4, the mindset on that was, hey, what if Naughty Dog had made a new game today? What if we kind of isolated the DNA from the original games and focused on that and tried to extrapolate what Naughty Dog may have done and then do a Toys for Bob spin on it? I don't think that's going to happen. I think that we're going to be getting something more in depth for Spyro. I don't think it's going to be, here's your 4 or 5 hub worlds with 5 or 6 levels with a boss at the end of each one. You did it. Yay. Move on to the next level over and over and over and over again. I don't think that we're going to be getting that. I think that we're going to be getting something that will have that DNA. I think it's going to have that DNA, but I don't think that that is going to be all that's there. I think that we're going to be getting something. My opinion is Toys for Bob wants to swing for the fences. My opinion is they want to swing for out of the park. I don't think Toys for Bob wants to play safe. I don't think Toys for Bob wants to do something that is, hey, let's do, by the colors, by the lines, Spyro. I think they want to make their mark. And one of the other things I want to mention is I think that they're going to be sticking with what I think will mostly be the reignited design. They may change it just enough to be like, oh, hey, that's a new Spyro design, but not significantly, because if you look at the marketing material for the new merch that's been coming out, they've all been using still the Spyro reignited renders. And so if they turned around and did a Spyro 4 thing and it looked completely different, it would be like, oh, like a jarring effect. But I also think that they're going to, so I think overall the reignited scope and design is what we're going to be getting still in terms of like the look, the colors. But I think there'll be like an adjustment. There'll be an adjustment just enough for people to be like, oh, that's a Spyro 4 render. Whether that's him, maybe not as, maybe he's a little thinner, maybe he's a little taller, maybe he's more, maybe not as pudgy, maybe he's just got maybe a little bit more, straighter lines, maybe. We're not sure. But pay attention in that sense. If you look at the merch, it's not going to be a drastic change. Having said that, I don't think that we can expect for it to be homeworld, gates, levels, side missions, homeworlds, gates, side missions, blah, 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 or the copy and paste. I think that they are going to try to swing for the fences. I think that is going to be something that they're going to try. So don't expect the same one-to-one Spyro that's just, hey, just give me Spyro 4 as if made by Insomniac years later. So, expectations. Expect the Spyro Reignited design to stay the same. Expect this to not be, or stay the same, similar to. Don't expect the exact same type of playstyle. So the Spyro Skylanders crossover can happen. I said this before. I don't agree with that statement. I think that there could be Easter eggs of Skylanders, but I think Toys for Bob is well enough aware that I think that Toys for Bob is respectful to Skylanders as they should be, but I also don't think that they're tone deaf. Toys for Bob knows the knee-jerk reaction that fans had to Skylanders and had to Skylanders designs. I don't think Toys for Bob is tone deaf. I don't think they would sit there and say, yes, let's do that. They already know, hey, this is the core audience is going to be people who are around 30, right? That's going to be their target audience. So I don't think that they're going to turn around and use Skylanders as marketing, though Skylanders being involved in some small way, absolutely. But as the core things of the game, I don't think so. What's the best way that Spyro 4 can feel new and fresh and not more of the same? You're going to have to break some rules. What you have to do is that you have to be able to add more that complements what that original intention of Spyro was. So when you're sitting down and you're looking at Spyro, you think to yourself, okay, what makes a Spyro game a Spyro game? Part of the thing that you love about Spyro is the exploration, the secrets, collecting gems. And so, okay, if you have that mindset in mind, where do you begin? One of the things that also makes Spyro so good is its use of space. I think I've made a video about this years ago, and it didn't get very popular, but I still stand by it today. And it was that Spyro uses its space really, really well, right? It had limited space, and they figured out, how can we make the best use of this space? And that limitation created creativity, right? So, for example, Town Square is a great example of a Spyro level that used different layers and different levels and still have the same amount of space, right? Town Square was brilliant. And I think that that's a really, really good level to see, hey, this is how you use a really good use of space. So I don't think a gigantic, massive thing is going to work. I think bigger, definitely, but a smart use of that space, right? Are you putting something there just to make it bigger, or are you putting something there to add some sort of element, right? I think that also another thing that is a problem is that if you go and you look at like the Legend of Spyro, if you go and you look at all the different Spyro games beyond the original trilogy, and of course Enter the Dragonfly, but even Enter the Dragonfly is guilty of this. One of the things that Spyro does really well is its use of environments, right? Its creative use of environments. You're not in one type of singular environment for a long period of time. And one of the things that was a problem with A Hero's Tale is that you were in an environment for a long time, and then you would shift to another environment, and by the end you only explored like 4 or 5 environments that were unique, right? Meanwhile, the original Spyro had the original Spyro trilogy, sometimes all the levels were just absolutely berserk. There were like 12 different level themes, and then if they were recycled, they were adjusted and changed. So there was this constant freshness of experience and look. And I think that Toys for Bob needs to also be able to focus on different designs and looks of levels as well, and not just, these big massive levels that are all in the forest. It's all forest themed. And then, there's a cave. And then, no, like, because some of the level designs in the original Spyro were all over the place, and they were crazy. And especially in the first game, there was still a central theme, but it was still so different that you could recognize color palettes, you could recognize props, you could recognize designs, you could recognize all these different things, and still be able to recognize, it's this level, it's that level, but I know which homeworld it's from. So there's that. And that's where it's like, okay, we have to make sure that we follow the exploration route. We follow bigger, but not gigantic necessarily, right? So I still hope that there's some sort of let's see here. Got a few more questions. If you got if you guys got questions, please fire them away. It's a yap session. That's the point, right? I got a feeling that if Hunter does return, they're probably going to bring back Robbie Damon. They'll bring back Robbie Damon. Robbie's good. Robbie is talented. He'll fill in for Hunter. It's gonna be inevitable. I wonder if they know how picky the real fans are. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be very honest with you when it comes to this stuff. You ready for this? I think Spyro fans right now are so bloody starved that at this point, if it is a platformer, if it is 3D, and if it's a platformer, if it's 3D, and Spyro looks at least similar or close to his reignited design, people will be fine. People will be fine. There's going to be people that are going to get mad, but the large majority of Spyro fans are just going to sigh a breath of relief that there's Spyro content. Now, of course, the game may come out and then that might change, but at the same token of time, Spyro fans right now are starved. I know I am, or I am seeing like Jim, for example, saying that he is. There's a whole bunch of people who are currently starved for Spyro content. I don't think that people are going to be too bad, right? I don't think people are going to be too bad when it comes to that. Let's see. Got a few more questions here as well. I love the Reignite, but I do hope they bring more story plot to Spyro 4. They'll probably bring some more plot. Probably not a crazy amount, but probably at least a little bit. Do you expect the same playstyle as the original trilogy? I don't think the exact playstyle. I think that it's gonna be still Spyro Glide and all this stuff. But I do think there's gonna be an upgrade tree. I think there's gonna be a talent tree that's going to expand on Spyro's abilities, and I really like that idea. I really do. I think that that's really cool. And a fun way to be able to be like, oh, I gained access to this secret earlier than this person because this person decided to go with a flame upgrade that got them access to a secret over here, but I got access to a gliding upgrade that allowed me to get access to this secret over there. I think that would be a lot of fun. What if they go a path similar to modern Ratchet games? I would love to answer this question, but could you clarify? I think we're in the zone where we could potentially get a leak now. While not guaranteed, I think someone or something will come out. I don't necessarily want a leak to happen. I don't want a leak to happen. I want people to... I don't want a leak to happen in the sense of we see something. If we go all the way to... we know the title of it, I would be okay with that. But beyond that, all I would want, if there were to be a leak, is just the fact that it exists. And that's it. Because when Crash 4 got leaked, there was a giant... oh my gosh. We just got a pretty big donation. Ben Who donated $66.64 through Streamlabs. I got a feeling that was a weird conversion rate, if I remember correctly. But either or, it doesn't matter, weird or not. That is a $66 donation through Streamlabs. You saw the bar went from 25 to 91. That is incredible. Ben Who, thank you so much. If you also want to support the channel for me to continue doing this full time, and as we cover more Spyro 4 content, which I think we're going to be doing a Spyro Yap Sesh every Saturday at noon, because I love doing these with you guys. There's a donation link in the description below, and if you can't get access to that, you can do Super Chat if you so wish, and if you can't, that's okay too. No obligation to donate, but it's always appreciated. Ben Who commented a purple heart. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You also can throw questions through Streamlabs as well, and they'll be that'll be the easiest way for me to be able to answer too. So let's see here. Spyro Bonanza. I was reading a question and I lost track of it. It was there and it's gone. Do you think Spyro 4 will be announced this year? I do believe so. I do think that we're going to be seeing it this year. We'll see. Let's see here. I'll take another Enter the Dragonfly at this point. Not that I think Toys will. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, I'm hoping that they don't go the route of Mario Odyssey as well. I'm not understanding the connection to GTA with Mario Odyssey, but I do hope that they don't go the route of Mario Odyssey because it's just going to do nothing but constantly reaffirm that everyone's just copying Mario. No, I don't want that. Spyro has its own identity. They don't need to copy, right? But Toys for Bob also needs to leave their mark. Toys for Bob needs to be able to also leave their mark on history, and they need to be able to turn around and say, "Hey, we want to do this," right? Let's see here. Any other question? An upgrade system like Donkey Kong Bonanza would be great. Exactly. That is the exact because I even made a little visual a while back. That is the exact type of updates that I do want. I want that Donkey Kong-esque, Bonanza-esque setup. Yes. Yes, that's what I want. That's what I want to see. That's what I hope for. This is making me think about how fun a Spyro 2D scroller would be. I don't know. You see, for me personally, I'm not a big 2D side scroller fan. Personally, for me, but if anything Spyro game related that was a side scroller, I'd still pick it up. Even if I would still pick it up. I would still stream it. I would still play it. Even if it wasn't my favorite, I would support Spyro. I love Spyro to death. So, let's see here. I kind of don't either, but I think it's inevitable looking at past history. So, Rumble didn't leak. Kind of. Is Rumble a leak? Because Wumpa League is a leak, but was Rumble a leak? I don't think in an official sense. I don't think in an official sense that Rumble was a leak in terms of the announcement, but the game in its existence was a leak. I mean, technically speaking, Spyro 4 has leaked. I was the one that came out and broke the story on that, so depending on how you look at that, right? Crash 4 was a massive leak. That was awful. That was awful. And I remember the point that I was going to make. I believe that there are some people, not all people, that some people saw the design of Crash via the leak and how those poor screenshots were, and they already had made the determination and wrote it off immediately like that. And I still think that's affecting Crash's image to this day. I still do. I still believe I really enjoyed Crash 4's design, and there are a lot of people that are adamant and not happy about it. And fine, everyone can have their opinion and takes on it because it's like every 3 months it goes viral again on Twitter about, look how they ruined our boy! And then, people are saying, yeah, you stop saying that they're stupid. And it's a whole argument that happens over and over and over and over again. And every time I see it now, I just roll my eyes and don't even comment it on live, on social media, because it drives me bananas. But I do believe that there are some people that saw the design of Crash, and because there are so many people that are so hard-headed online that once they make a determination on something, they don't go back. They don't go back. And they just hold to it and get upset, even though the screenshots were terrible. The screenshots that came out when Crash 4 leaked were terrible. So I do think that there were some people that held on to that a little bit. And I don't want Spyro to leak in that sense, right? All I would want to see as a leak, if there were to be one, is it exists and maybe the name. That's it. And I'm happy with that. Beyond that, I don't want to see anything. I don't want to see screenshots leaked. I don't want to see an alternate language leak. I want to see any of that. I don't want to see any of that. And I want to see it revealed with a full belly of excitement for Summer Game Fest. I'm seeing an announcement before June. I'm not agreeing with that quite yet. I don't think so. I think it's going to be June. I think, if I was a gambling man. I'm not a gambling man, but if I were to gamble, I would say, is it possible before June? Sure, but I don't think so. Why did you post that dog gif on Twitter? I thought I like dogs, and I thought that dog was funny, so I posted that dog. Next questions. On sign. It's crazy that we could be 2 or 3 weeks away from seeing something. I'm really hoping we get a trailer at Summer Game Fest. Me too. There was something that someone had thrown out, which was a really interesting suggestion, which was that, hey, what if they did a trailer at Summer Game Fest and then they did like a gameplay in-depth reveal at the Xbox showcase? And I was like, that's really smart. They might do that. That might be how the Xbox exclusivity goes, because they're going to be driving more people to go and check out the Xbox showcase that typically wouldn't. They're going to be like, hey, I'm here for Spyro, but I got to sit through the rest of the showcase to get to it, which, I mean, it would work. That's something that I heard someone suggest, and I thought that was really smart. Is there any chance of Fortnite Fuel 2? We were talking about Spyro today, but I'll quickly shortly say, yes, I do believe that there is a big chance for that. Let's see here. What if Spyro 4 was a multiverse game between the Legend of Spyro universe? I think that no, I don't think that would be great, but I do believe that it would be cool to I do think that it would be cool that that the Chronicler was involved, and he kind of alluded that there were multiple universes, right? Like you finish the game, and after you finish the game, a weird portal shows up. You go through the portal, and there's this dragon, and you're in this area that like is where it has all your collectibles, and it tells you about all the stuff that you had in the game. But the Chronicler is there kind of as like a lore keeper, a library keeper of like, oh, this is how many times you've died in this level. This is how many times all the gems you collected. These are where you're missing. This is the decisions you made. This is this, that. And it's like, hey, that would be cool. But in terms of like a multiverse game, no. I'm into Spyro. I played the 1990 game and then Enter the Dragonfly, and then 2018. I do want to try Hero's Tale. It would be cool seeing it myself. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's not bad. What do you think the official title could be? I'll say this. I don't think it's going to be titled Spyro 4. I will call it Spyro 4 until it is officially revealed, but I don't think it's going to be called Spyro 4. There was a title that somebody said that I was like, that's kind of cheeky, is Spyro Forever. At first, I thought no, but the more I thought about it, I was like, that is kind of cool. At first, I said no. But the more I thought about it, I was like, that is kind of cheeky, Spyro Forever. So, but I do think that I got a feeling that the title of, one that would be really, a safe one. I'll give you a safe title, a very safe title that would be like, I don't hate it. It's fine. It's very marketable, very easy marketable, is simply saying, Spyro Return of the Dragon. That's it. It's not Spyro the Dragon. It's not Spyro Year of the Dragon. It's Spyro Return of the Dragon. That is a very, very, very safe, very marketable. Is it a little bit slightly bland? Maybe, but I wouldn't complain about it. I'm not going to sit here and be like, no, I would, it wouldn't be terrible. But I think Spyro Return of the Dragon, that's safe. That's very safe. That's where I'm. Yeah, it could work. I'm not saying it can't work. It Return of the Dragon. It's safe. It works. Is it kind of breakfast blend coffee? Yes. I just realized I hope people would understand that joke. I hope people would understand that joke. Is it breakfast blend coffee a little bit, but it's fine. Like if you don't get the joke, breakfast blend coffee is literally like designed to be the coffee that you drink at a cafe is typically designed to just be trying to cater to everyone's tastes, and it doesn't fulfill everyone's flavors, but it's it goes from this is fine to this is decent. That's breakfast blend coffee is supposed to be. It's a flavor for everybody that, if you enjoy a specific kind of coffee, if you like weird coffee, black coffee, if you like it tasting like black tar, or you like it very specialized, you go breakfast blend, and it's just very much like hits the spot. I don't think they would go with Enter the Dragon because too much of Enter the Dragonfly. You could do something. Just change. It could be Spyro, and then just change the first word of the dragon. Right. Or drop the of. Return of the Dragon, Showdown of the Dragon, you could turn around, and if you could go, you could go if you're going, okay, just an idea, just another idea. What if they literally just had it titled Spyro Adventures? Just Spyro Adventures. And this is like the start of like a new trilogy. So Spyro Adventures 1, 2, and 3. You go Spyro Adventures, Spyro, you don't want it too wordy. Spyro 4 Return of the Dragon would be a great title. I do agree that it would be a pretty good title. I don't think that we're going to get Spyro Adventures. Like I said, it's just like something. Spyro Adventures. Do you think Cinder will make a return? I think. Listen, I want to say something about Toys for Bob. Even within the realms of safety of Crash Bandicoot 4, where people are like, oh, it's a by the numbers Crash game, which I don't disagree with that idea that it's a by the numbers Crash game. Even within that space, Toys for Bob did a bunch of new things, and a lot of people take it for granted. One of the things that people take for granted is the fact that they turned around and said, hey, let's do a playable Dingo Dial. Can we bring playable Dingo Dial into here? I can promise you, okay, there is not one soul, not one person that would have thought that before the game was announced that you could play as Dingo Dial. Nobody. Nobody had a serious thought of, I want to play Dingo Dial. No one. No one had a thought of alternate world Tana. Nobody thought that. I promise you that. And furthermore, nobody thought playable Cortex. Nobody thought these things before Crash 4 was released and announced. Nobody. Nobody thought that. I don't care what anyone says. Everyone thought it would be Crash, Coco, maybe a third character. A lot of people were expecting Crunch or whatever. Nobody expected playable Dingo Dial. So heed my words when I say this. If you give Toys for Bob a 4x4 square, they're going to try to make that 4x4 square as interesting as possible. Right? So, do I think that they're going to bring Cinder? I think that Toys for Bob is smart and aware enough to know when to add something and when to hold back. Okay? Everybody expected that there would be something related to Crunch in Crash 4, and Crunch never showed up. And people were like, why didn't Crunch show up? Why didn't this show up? Why didn't that show up? Toys for Bob brought Dingo Dial and Tana in because it made sense to the plot of the story of the game that they wanted to do. It made sense. It added up. It made sense. So will Cinder be in there? Again, my statement, like I made in my tier list video, is if it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, Cinder will not show up. I don't think Toys for Bob, I may be wrong. But judging by seeing all their previous games and everything that they have done, I don't think they're going to crowbar something in for the sake of putting it in. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't get added no matter what. If it makes sense, add it. So depending on the plot and the story that they want to tell, will Cinder be in there? Possibly. If it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, she ain't going to be there. She won't be there. They're not going to crowbar something in, right? They didn't have to crowbar Dingo Dial in, but they said, hey, this makes sense. There's all these different things that they could have went, and they decided to do something different. They created a female alternative reality Entropy. Right? And she was villainous. So yeah. I don't think that would be I don't think that there would be any legal issue there, because if you're doing Easter eggs and references, I don't think that would be a problem. They're going to have to try to make up some type of plot of point in the plot to add Cinder, which they could. I came up with one that was real easy. Real easy. It was, hey, I want them, when I sat down and I designed my Spyro 4 game in terms of plot and what would happen, in terms of like writing the story, my concept was simple. It was, I want dragons to come back, and I want the option to be able to play as Cinder. How do I design a story around that? It was very simple. It's okay, all the dragons have been saved. Do they all get saved again? No, that would be boring. I want new dragons. So how do I introduce new dragons? How do you introduce Cinder? Easy. We have portals. We look at the technology. Is it possible for Cinder to show up and not be a dragon that we've recognized before? Yes. How? Take a look at what the professor did. The professor literally played with some coordinates and brought Spyro mid-flight into Avalar. Okay, why can't that happen again? It happens again. Turns out there's new dragons. Oh, Cinder shows up. Who are you? She's freaking out. Their world's in trouble. They need help. The dragons deliberate. Spyro says, I want to go on an adventure. I've been bored for all these years. Let's go on an adventure. Sneaks out with Cinder, goes back through the portal, enters their world. Portal gets shut down because of magic doodads, and now Spyro is stuck on this side, and now he has to save all the dragons from that side and help Cinder at the same time. There you go. There is your whole plot. There's your whole plot. Bingo, bango, bongo. You're good to go. Do you think Crash Bandicoot 5 will release someday later after it got canceled? I don't think the Crash Bandicoot 5 that was in development at Toys for Bob, that project in of itself will return. I don't think so. Having said that, I'm not sitting here saying that there won't ever be a Crash Bandicoot 5. I'm saying that version of Crash Bandicoot 5 most likely won't come. That version specifically. Has it already been an hour? Jeez Louise. I'm man, I blinked and it's been an hour. We'll try to stay open for another maybe 10, 15 minutes and then we'll wrap up because I do got to get going. But I do appreciate everyone tuning in. So let's try to get some more questions in. Personally, I don't want any kind of melodrama in Spyro. Also, I think Easter eggs are given. I can understand plot-wise. I don't mind the concept of there being some interesting plot. I don't mind some more interesting plot, but I don't think that we need to sit down and go super duper deep. Here's my problem with The Legend of Spyro. It positions itself to look like a super deep plot that's super duper deep. It positions itself to look like that, and when you dive in, you hit the floor pretty early. And it's a little disappointing in that sense because it's like, oh, there's all these things, and then you try to dig into it and you kind of can't. I would be okay with it being a superficial plot with an interesting plot twist. And that's it. I'd be okay with that. I think I would be okay with it. I think that it would be. So hear me out here. Do you think we will have a new villain or a returning villain? And is there a companion you don't want to see return? I made a whole video about a companions I don't want to see return. I did a whole video. I wanted to make sure that Blink doesn't return. That's one character I don't want to see come back. But in terms of like the original, like especially from the original trilogy, I don't see why, most of them couldn't come back. But if we look at what Toys for Bob did, who's been the villain basically in every single Crash game? It's been Cortex. Every single Crash game, it's been Cortex, right? Crash 1, Crash 2, Crash 3, Crash 4, Wrath of Cortex, Twin Sanity, no, but with an asterisk on that one, right? Tag Team Racing, technically Tag Team Racing not as well, but kind of, right? But the majority of the villain has been Cortex. So who was the villain in Crash Bandicoot 4? It was Cortex. They even try to do a swerve where you're like, oh, it's Entropy this time. And then, oh yeah, by the way, it's Cortex. Right? They tried to do the, they did the Zelda thing where you're like, oh, is it a new villain? It's always Ganondorf. Oh, it's a new villain for Zelda. Who? And then guess what? It was Ganondorf the whole time. And they kind of pulled a Twilight Princess. Every time you play a Zelda game and you think, hey, who's the bad guy gonna be? Guess who? So, but then if we look at Spyro, right? Look at Spyro 1, bad guy was bad guy, Nasty Nork. Spyro 2, bad guy, Ripto. Spyro 3, Sorceress. Spyro Under the Dragonfly originally wasn't supposed to be Ripto. It was actually supposed to be yet a different dragon, apparently. It was supposed to be a dragon that stole essences. However, because they panicked and freaked out and wigged out and lost their mind, they had to grab Ripto to recycle that plot line because they were panicking. So it's a recycle, but I don't count it as that. That's a developmental freak out. Then you have a Hero's Tale where, yes, Nasty did return, but he was the first boss, and he was now back to being more like a minion. Bad guy was Ret, right? Then we have The Legend of Spyro, where you have Cinder was the first villain, and then you had Gaul was the villain, and the whole time you have Malefor being the villain, right? So all of the Spyro games, with subsetting aside the blunder of Enter the Dragonfly, even like Shadow Legacy had its own villain. Spyro typically always had a brand new villain, and I like the idea of there being an overarching villain and a new villain for 2 games, and then the overarching villain coming in the last game, right? I love that. And that's why I was so disappointed with The Legend of Spyro, because it was, okay, Cinder was the villain, but Malefor was introduced as this overarching villain. All right. So you have the lowercase plot, and then the lowercase p plot, and then the uppercase p plot, right? So you have the lowercase p plot, which is Cinder, but the uppercase p plot is Malefor, right? Then the second game is, okay, Gaul, still lowercase p plot. Last game is the resolution of the capital P plot, which is Malefor, right? So I like that. I like that idea. So I would love for them to bring in a brand new villain, a brand new take. I want to see what Toys for Bob can do with a brand new evil villain. Would it be funny? Would it be a funny villain? Will it be a sinister villain? Will it be something in between? Will it be a sinister villain? One of my favorite tropes is like the trope from Scar, which is Scar basically from Lion King, which is a diabolical villain surrounded by idiots. That could be fun. I love that trope. It's such a good trope because the bad guy can be so abundantly evil, and all of his servants are just so stupid. And him yelling at them for their insolence it's a vibe that I always love. It's tried and true. You can't go wrong with it. I'd be down for that. Basically, because Ripto was a bumbling idiot too, but just less than. I'm talking just a bad person, really bad, evil, no redeeming quality whatsoever, and surrounded by idiots. I'm not talking Ripto. Ripto is like just the top of the low IQ barrel, and his other 2 minions were on the bottom that he scraped up, right? He's the guy that can recognize, I can fool these guys into working for me, right? They're stupid, and I can do my great crazy plan, and the crazy plan is still stupid. So that's Ripto, right? He's dumb, just not as dumb. But the idea of someone being like pretty smart and pretty evil, and their minions are stupid, is, yes, I love that. It's a tried and true. He's a smart idiot. Yeah, sure. So if Crush and Gulp work for Malefor, that's a better way to put it. Yeah. The smart idiot, the smartest of the idiots. Out of everyone in the idiot pile, you're the smartest. Thanks. Okay, you got a few more minutes and then we'll wrap up. You thought you had a new villain, but it was I, Ganon. When do you think Spyro will release? I think that if patterns maintain, we'll see Spyro released this year. But again, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I am perfectly A-okay with Spyro happening next year. Like if they announce it this year and it comes out next year, I'd be fine with that. I'd be A-okay with it. I would be just fine and dandy. I just need them to tell everyone that it exists, and that's it. But I think that it probably, if patterns persist, it's still going to be a little bit unique and different. But the relationship for Tony Hawk 3+4 was pretty similar to what we're getting for Spyro 4. So I got a feeling that we're going to be, seeing something probably this year if patterns persist. No, we're not gonna be doing a stream later. I got today's my attempted day off. I say attempted day off because is it really a day off? Well, I gotta go mow the lawn again. I gotta go and mow the lawn again. I gotta do a whole bunch of stuff that I gotta do, and it's gonna be interesting today. But I got a feeling too that we are going to be, because the getting announced. So if I'm going to wrap up with this, and let me explain. I think, and this is just me. I'm not speaking on behalf of anything, but this is just me speaking here. Let's take a look at the upcoming stuff. Let me type this up, just make sure that I have this all right. So we have at the end of May, we have the PlayStation Direct. Then we have the Summer Game Fest. Then we have the Xbox Showcase. Then we have Gamescom. And then depending on release, we also have Fan Expo Toronto. So, and then we have Game Awards. So there's a few things listed here, but let me just kind of read a few things and then we will go here. At the end of May, we have a PlayStation Direct. Then on June 5th, we have the Summer Game Fest. June 7th, we have the Xbox Showcase. Then we have Gamescom in August. And then we have Fan Expo in September. And then you have the Game Awards in December, right? So here's the thing. Okay? That's just what's confirmed thus far. Thus far. If you announce at Summer Game Fest, you also can show something at the Xbox Showcase, and you can show something at Gamescom. So you have a chance, if you announce at Summer Game Fest, to then show another trailer or demo at Gamescom, and then even Fan Expo if you wanted to for like a game demo, and then release the game in once Toronto's Fan Expo. It's typically it's the Labor Day weekend, I think. So it's like August going into September. So like super early August. Let me double check. Okay, so it's August 27th to the 30th. Okay. And I can say that because I played Spyro Reignited at Fan Expo in the past. Oh yeah, and how could I forget? There's also PAX West. There's also PAX West, which is we'll go on sale. Okay, when is it happening? There you go. September 4th. So you have Summer Game Fest, Xbox Showcase, Gamescom, Fan Expo, PAX West, and Game Awards. Okay. Now, Game Awards, I don't think we're going to need that because I think Spyro will be released before then. But if you have like a September, October kind of September, October, November ballpark release, right? Then there you go. So you announce at Summer Game Fest, you can have the game showcased at the Xbox Showcase for gameplay. At Gamescom, you could do a trailer. At Fan Expo, you could bring a demo. At PAX West, you could bring a demo and an announcement. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do. That just would be smart, right? It's just beyond it even making sense to release then. It's smart to release it at Summer Game Fest. So, I think if I were a gambling man, it's either going to be Summer Game Fest or the Xbox Showcase. If I was operating it, I would say to do a trailer at Summer Game Fest and do like a 5-minute gameplay breakdown in at Xbox. I think maybe a release in October might be a good idea. I think a release in October is a good idea. I would do a release in October. I think September might be a little bit of a short stint because it would be hypothetically June, July, August, September. That's 4 months, right? And it's a little short. Maybe end of September. I would aim for end of September. I know that we're coming up to there's an anniversary in September, of course, but it's the 27th anniversary. It's not like a major milestone anniversary, though. I think it would be cool if they announced something then for that. Yeah, I think that Summer Game Fest is your best bet, and then maybe a trailer or something at Xbox Showcase. That would be, I think, interesting. For the next Spyro title. All right, ladies and gents. Buying champagne for the Summer Game Fest. If the prophet speaks true. I'm going to try. I'm hoping. I'm not a prophet. I ain't no prophet. I am just trying my best. That's all I am. I don't know what you would call me. If you call me a theory maker, sure. I ain't no prophet. But I am trying my best, and that's what I can say. So, thank you everybody for tuning in for this Spyro Yap Sesh. I hope you guys thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope that you guys had a great time. I think we're coming up to it. I really do. I genuinely do. Trust me. you're not going to see a more shocked person than me if we don't see it at Summer Game Fest, or like, you know, in the ballpark. I'm not going to wait through Summer Game Fest and be like, oh, well, I guess it's dead if it doesn't show up. I'll be like, okay, well, then maybe it's Xbox, right? I'm not going to be one of those people. I'm going to be the wait and see until after Xbox. If after the Xbox showcase ends, I don't see a new Spyro title, I would be the most sleuth. There we go. Sleuth. Let's go with a sleuth. I like to be a sleuth. I'll call myself a sleuth. So that's what we're going to go for. That's what we're trying to aim for. I hope you guys enjoyed the Spyro Yap Sesh today. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys next week. Maybe we'll do another Spyro Yap Sesh if you guys are interested. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video and our live stream. Time for the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye.